You wake up, roll over, grab your phone, and the world owns you again. You're 38, maybe 42. You've got responsibilities, a job, maybe a family. But deep down, if you're honest, you know you're coasting. You're not failing, but you're definitely not winning. You've traded your fire for survival. Days blur, weeks vanish. You tell yourself you're too busy to grow, too tired to start over, too late to change. But let me ask you something. What if your entire life is being decided in the first hour of your day? Not the meetings, not the hustle, not the grind, but that quiet hour you keep wasting, hitting snooze on your purpose. What if I told you the difference between the man you are and the man you were meant to be is just 1 hour a day? Not 10, not 5, 1. And you've been giving it away, to your phone, to your inbox, to everyone but yourself. That's not time management, that's self-abandonment. So ask yourself, when did you stop showing up for you? And more importantly, what would happen if you started again tomorrow morning? You've been taught to believe that success is reserved for the chosen few, those born with more time, more talent, more energy, more luck. That if you're not grinding 14 hours a day, then you're not serious. That if you haven't already made it by 35, you've missed your chance. But let's be brutally honest for a second. That story, that belief, it's not just false, it's dangerous. Because it keeps you trapped in the illusion that real change requires something outside of you. More money, more motivation, a mentor, a miracle. It convinces you that your lack of progress is because life didn't give you the right cards, when in reality the game isn't about the cards. It's about how you play them 1 hour at a time. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Most men aren't stuck because of their circumstances. They're stuck because of their rituals. Their mornings are chaotic, reactive, distracted. They don't set intention. They don't build momentum. They wake up and instantly plug into someone else's world. Their boss, their kids, the news, the noise. They hand over their focus, their peace, their power before their feet even hit the floor. That's not life. That's survival on autopilot. And it's slow death. Not the kind that shows up in hospitals, but the kind that shows up in apathy, in regret, in those quiet moments when you realize you're no longer becoming anything. You see, no one ever told you that your first hour is sacred, that it's not just a routine, it's a battlefield. Every morning, there's a silent war between the man you are and the man you're called to be. And what you do in that first hour decides who wins. But most men lose before they even begin because they're not awake, not physically, not mentally, not spiritually. They open their eyes but keep their purpose shut. They confuse movement with momentum, effort with elevation, motion with meaning. They're busy, but they're not building. They're scrolling, but they're not seeing. They're working, but they're not growing. And then they wonder why nothing's changing. Why the same issues keep resurfacing. Why they feel stuck in a cycle of almosts and maybes. The reason is simple. They never reclaimed the 1 hour that could break the cycle. They never made space to think, to learn, to move, to plan, to create. They bought into the lie that mornings are for rushing, that hustle is a badge of honor, that rest and reflection are luxuries. But the men who win, the ones you admire, the ones who lead, who build, who transform, they don't start their day in chaos. They don't check in with the world before they check in with themselves. They know the first hour is where confidence is built, where clarity is born, where discipline is forged. They don't wait for motivation. They build systems. They don't rely on emotion. They rely on decisions. And those decisions, they're made every single morning when the world is still quiet and the mirror is still honest. That's where they win. Not on the stage, not in the boardroom, not when the spotlight is on. They win in the hour no one sees, the hour most men waste. So if you've been feeling stuck, lost, behind, let me say this clearly. The problem is not you. It's not your job. It's not your wife. It's not your age. It's the way your days begin. You've been reacting instead of responding, consuming instead of creating, hitting snooze on your potential instead of rising with intention. And until that changes, nothing else will. This is the hidden truth. Change doesn't begin with a dramatic moment. It begins with a quiet decision, repeated in the same sacred hour, over and over again, until it reshapes who you are. The life you're waiting for is not in some distant future. It's hiding in your mornings. The man you want to become is waiting for you at 6:00 a.m., not on your phone, not in your inbox, not in someone else's timeline. He's there, in the silence, in the solitude, in the discipline of showing up for yourself before the world shows up for you. And every day you don't claim that hour, you drift a little further from him. That's not being busy, that's being lost. And it's time you found your way back. Starting tomorrow, starting now. Let's talk about what happens when you don't act. When you keep doing what you've always done. When you keep giving your first hour to distraction, to noise, to everybody else but yourself. Let's get uncomfortably honest about the cost of doing nothing. Because the truth is, most men don't crash all at once. They drift, slowly, quietly, silently, one missed promise, one delayed dream, one more morning given away. And suddenly it's been 5 years and they don't recognize the man in the mirror. He looks the same on the outside, maybe a little heavier, maybe a little more tired, but the real change is internal. His fire is gone. His edge is gone. He doesn't lead anymore, he just maintains. He doesn't build, he just survives. And the worst part, he calls it normal. You know, this man. Maybe you are this man, the one who used to have ambition, goals, hunger. The one who once said, I'll do more, I'll be more. But that version of you has been buried under routines that don't serve you and obligations that drain you. You spend your energy managing problems instead of pursuing purpose. You go through your day on autopilot, giving your best to things that don't give back. And what do you have at the end of it? Fatigue, frustration, regret. You tell yourself you're too busy to change, but the truth is you're too scared to start. Because starting means admitting you've let yourself down. It means facing the reality that you've been complicit in your own stagnation. And that's hard to swallow. But let's be clear, doing nothing is still a choice. And it's the most expensive one you'll ever make. Because every hour you waste isn't just lost time, it's lost potential, it's lost clarity, it's lost strength. It's one less hour building the life you actually want. You think you're staying in place, but you're not. You're falling behind, not just professionally, but emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. You're not the leader you were meant to be. You're not the partner your family deserves. You're not the man you promised yourself you'd become. And deep down, you know it. You see, the most dangerous thing about comfort is how quietly it kills you. It doesn't shout, it whispers, it tells you tomorrow's fine. One more week won't hurt. You'll start next month. But then you blink and a decade is gone. You've built habits that numb instead of nourish. You've become excellent at hiding your frustration behind productivity. But success without fulfillment is still failure. And most men won't realize it until it's too late, until the doctor gives them a warning, until the relationship falls apart, until the opportunity passes for good. And by then, they'll wish they could go back, not to some big moment, but to the simple mornings they wasted, thinking they didn't matter. Let me be real with you. The hour you ignore today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. Not because the hour was magical, but because it was yours and you gave it away. That's what this comes down to: ownership of your time, of your energy, of your life. You've been living in response mode and it's robbing you blind. It's stealing your potential and calling it responsibility. But what if you took it back? What if you drew a line and said, no more? No more wasted mornings, no more excuses, no more pretending that this is enough. Because the reality is, the longer you wait to change, the harder it gets. Not because change itself becomes more difficult, but because you get used to the version of yourself that's settled. And settling is a habit just like anything else. It becomes familiar, comfortable, justified, but it's not who you are, it's who you've become by default, and that can change. But only if you interrupt the drift, only if you wake up and decide, this stops now. So let me ask you honestly, how many more mornings are you willing to waste before something breaks? How long will you keep telling yourself you're fine while watching your passion, your strength, your sense of purpose fade? How many years are you willing to trade for comfort, for routine, for silence? The cost of doing nothing is not a dollar amount. It's your life unlived. It's the dreams you bury, the potential you never realize, the man you never become. And one day you'll have to answer for that. Maybe not to the world, but to yourself. And that conversation, that quiet moment when you realize you had the power all along but never used it, that will hurt more than any failure ever could. So if you're still waiting for the right time, stop. There is no perfect time, there's only time, and right now it's passing, whether you use it or not, whether you build with it or waste it. And 1 hour, just 1 hour, can begin to change the course of everything, but only if you decide, today, before another morning slips by and takes more of you with it. Here's the truth that most men miss. The breakthrough isn't in working harder. It's not in pushing through 12-hour days or grinding until you collapse. It's not in waiting for a lucky break or the right connection or some mythical perfect moment. The breakthrough is much simpler than that. So simple, in fact, that your mind will want to dismiss it. But listen closely. It's the consistent reclaiming of 1 hour a day. Just one. 1 hour that belongs entirely to you. No phone, no distractions, no obligations, just you and your future. This isn't motivational fluff. It's a principle rooted in discipline, not emotion. And discipline doesn't require a mood. It requires a decision. Every successful man you admire, he's not winning because he's smarter or richer or more gifted. He's winning because he controls his time, especially the hours that no one sees. He doesn't wait until life quiets down. He makes life quiet down. And that's the difference. That's the separation line between the average and the extraordinary. The breakthrough is in showing up for yourself with quiet, focused intent, day after day, before the world gets a piece of you. Because when you do that, you stop reacting. You start designing. You stop drifting. You start aiming. 1 hour doesn't sound like much, and that's why most men ignore it. They're conditioned to believe that massive change requires massive effort. But transformation doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. And 1 hour a day done right compounds in ways you can't imagine. That's 7 hours a week, 30 hours a month, 365 hours a year. That's over 9 full work weeks dedicated to building the man you were meant to be. Not building for your boss, not your clients, not your inbox, for you, for your clarity, for your strength, for your future. And here's what's beautiful about it. Anyone can do this. You don't need a degree. You don't need a perfect schedule. You don't need the stars to align. You need to take your first hour or your last hour and claim it. Make it yours. Guard it. Use it to learn, to move, to write, to think, to pray, to strategize, to breathe. That 1 hour is the seed. What you water it with becomes your life. And no one can take it from you unless you hand it over. There's power in small beginnings. You don't need to overhaul everything. You need to start somewhere. And this hour is where it begins. It's the hour where your next chapter starts to write itself, where you stop being the guy with potential and start becoming the man with progress. It's not about fixing everything overnight. It's about changing your trajectory. 1 degree, 1 decision, 1 hour at a time. And you want to know the best part? Once you begin, you won't want to stop. Because progress, even small progress, creates momentum. And momentum makes you dangerous, not to others, but to your old excuses. Suddenly, you're the man who follows through, the man who builds, the man who shows up, and you don't do it to impress anyone. You do it because you're tired of being stuck. You do it because deep down you know what you're capable of, and you're done waiting for someone else to unlock it. You'll unlock it yourself. Quietly, daily, hour by hour, that's the breakthrough. It's not loud, it's not flashy. It's not made for Instagram, it's made for legacy. It's built in solitude. It shows up in how you walk, how you speak, how you lead your family, how you show up for your team. It's not just about productivity. It's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of man who does what he said he would do, especially when no one's watching. That's real power. That's real transformation. That's what separates the ones who wish from the ones who build. So if you've been searching for a sign, this is it. You don't need a bigger plan, you need a smaller commitment. 1 hour, protected, repeated, aligned. It's not a hack, it's not a trend. It's ancient, it's effective, and it works. The only question now is, will you show up for it, or will you keep letting the world write your story for you? Because the man who masters this 1 hour doesn't just change his schedule, he changes his life. And that man could be you, starting now. So why does this 1 hour work? Why does it matter so much? Why is it that this small slice of your day, carved out with intention, can produce a ripple effect that reshapes your career, your health, your mindset, even your legacy? Because what you do in this hour isn't just about productivity, it's about programming. You are literally reprogramming your brain, your body, and your identity. Every action you take in that hour sends a message to yourself. I matter. My future matters. My growth is not optional, it's scheduled. You stop waiting for the world to give you permission, and instead you start giving yourself the authority to rise. Science backs it up. Neurologically, the brain is most adaptable during moments of solitude and focus. The first hour of the day, before distraction floods your system, is a neurological window where learning, clarity, and new habits take root most easily. It's called the neuroplastic prime. Your brain is in an alpha-theta state, calm but alert, ready to receive direction. If you fill that time with your phone, with chaos, with anxiety, your nervous system registers the day as a threat. But if you fill it with reflection, movement, learning, gratitude, planning, you teach your brain that you are safe, you are focused, and you are in command. Over time, this changes your default wiring. You don't just do different things. You become someone different. Psychologically, it builds something most men are starving for but won't admit: control. You may not control your job. You may not control the market, the traffic, the economy, the people in your life. But you can control this 1 hour. And when you control 1 hour, you stop feeling like a victim of your day. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You start remembering that you have choices. And that awareness bleeds into everything else. You walk into your work with more presence. You respond instead of react. You lead with clarity. You carry calm in chaos. Because you already had a win before the world even woke up. And physically, let's not ignore what this hour does to your body. Most men sit too much, think too much, stress too much, but never move, never breathe, never release. Using part of this hour to stretch, to walk, to sweat, to hydrate, this resets your system. Your hormones shift, your energy spikes, your posture changes, and so does your confidence. It's not about chasing the perfect body. It's about honoring the one you live in, because when your body feels strong, your mind follows. Your energy becomes magnetic. People feel your presence differently when you're not operating on fumes. Emotionally, this hour is your anchor. It's where you connect to something deeper than tasks and checklists. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's simply sitting still with your own thoughts for the first time in days. Whatever it is, it gives you space to remember who you are beneath the noise. That space is sacred. Because when a man is disconnected from himself, he becomes reactive, restless, easily angered, easily manipulated. But a man who centers himself every day becomes unshakable. He doesn't just survive storms, he leads through them. And let's talk momentum. Because most men don't need more information, they need movement. Action, momentum. When you begin your day with purposeful action, even if it's just small steps, your mind starts tracking success. It begins stacking proof. I said I would, and I did. And that repetition builds trust with yourself. It builds integrity. And that trust becomes confidence, not the fake kind that flexes on social media. The real kind that builds in silence and shows up in results. Let's not forget the compound effect. We've said it already, but let it land again. 1 hour a day is over 365 hours a year. That's over 21,000 minutes. And what do most men do with those minutes? They scroll, they react, they rush. But the men who build, who rise, who evolve, they invest those minutes into something better. books, movement, strategy, reflection, vision. Those 365 hours don't just accumulate knowledge or fitness or income. They accumulate identity. They transform the man who shows up in year 2, year 5, year 10. And maybe the most overlooked part? Ownership. When you claim that hour, no one gave it to you. You didn't ask for it. You took it. And in a world that's constantly pulling at your time, your energy, your attention, that act of taking back control is revolutionary. That's what makes this hour so powerful. It's not just a tactic, it's not a productivity hack. It's a rebellion against distraction, against mediocrity, against the slow death of drifting through life. You're not just learning. You're remembering who you are. A builder, a warrior, a leader, a man who doesn't wait for life to hand him purpose, he creates it. And it all starts with that quiet, focused, intentional hour that no one else sees. Because that hour is where you set the tone. For your health, for your mindset, for your goals, for your legacy. It's where you go from overwhelmed to clear, from scattered to strong, from surviving to building. That's why it works. Not because the hour is special, but because you decide to make it sacred. Because you finally stop waiting and start leading. Because you stop handing your power away and start picking it up. And every day you do that, something shifts. Not just in your results, but in your identity. And that right there is how men win in life, quietly, consistently, 1 hour at a time. So how do you actually do it? How do you turn this idea into something real, something repeatable, something that doesn't just inspire you tonight, but actually shows up in your life tomorrow morning and the next and the next? Because motivation fades, emotion fades, but structure, that's what carries you through the days when you don't feel like it. That's what builds consistency. That's what turns a good idea into a lifestyle. So here are the 5 practical steps that will help you build this 1 hour into your life, not as a trend, but as a non-negotiable. Each step is simple. Each step is doable, and together they'll change everything. Step 1. Schedule it the night before. Don't leave it to chance. Don't hope you'll wake up in the mood. You won't. Discipline isn't about feeling ready, it's about deciding in advance. Open your calendar, write it down, block the time, set your alarm. Set the intention. This isn't optional. This is if I feel like it. This is an appointment with your future. You wouldn't miss a meeting with your boss. Don't miss the one with yourself. Because this hour is where you lead your life, not just live it. Step 2, design your space. Environment matters. Where you spend this hour matters. You need a place that tells your mind it's time to build. Clear the clutter, keep it sacred. If it's your living room, your kitchen, your garage, your balcony, fine, just make it intentional. Light a candle, fill your water, set your journal out, keep your phone off or out of reach. The goal here is 0 friction. The fewer distractions in your space, the fewer excuses in your mind. Step 3, choose your rhythm. Don't cram everything into the hour. Give it structure. Think in blocks, 10 minutes of silence or reflection, 15 minutes of movement, 20 minutes of learning, 15 minutes of planning, or any mix that works for you, but make it consistent. The mind loves patterns. When you repeat the same sequence, your brain learns to shift into that mode faster. Over time, the resistance fades. Your body and mind begin to crave that hour like fuel. And that's when the magic happens, when it goes from effort to identity. Step 4, track it. Not to impress anyone, not for performance. But for proof, use a journal, a notebook, a wall calendar. Check it off every day you show up. Write one line, what you did and how you felt. That's it. Because when you see the chain build, you won't want to break it. When you see the record of your own effort, even if you're still in the early stages, you'll begin to feel pride, not in the results yet, but in the person who's becoming consistent. And that's the pride that fuels transformation. Step 5. Protect it with everything you've got. Guard it like treasure. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell yourself. No texts, no emails, no quick checks. This hour is not casual, it's sacred. And if something or someone tries to take it, you say no. Not because you're selfish, but because you're serious. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing this because you're done drifting. You're doing this because the man you want to become won't build himself. You've got to meet him halfway, and this hour is how you do it. Now, let's be clear, this won't be perfect. You'll miss a day. You'll sleep in. Life will throw things at you. That's not failure, that's reality. But don't miss twice. Don't let one bad morning turn into a lost week. Your job is not perfection. Your job is to return, to keep showing up. To make this hour so deeply embedded into your life that missing it feels like skipping a meal. Not because you're obsessed, but because you know it feeds you. It fuels you. It centers you. So tonight, before the world gets loud again, make the decision. Set your alarm, choose your space, prepare your book, lay out your clothes, pick your practice. This hour doesn't just belong on your calendar, it belongs in your identity. Because when you start your day with structure, intention, and focus, you walk through the rest of the day with clarity, purpose, and strength. And eventually, that becomes who you are. This is the foundation. These are the steps. You don't need to figure out the whole year. Just tomorrow morning, just that 1 hour, stack that hour, then stack it again, and again. And let the repetition do its work. Let it shape you, let it stretch you, let it separate you. Because that's what this is about, not just becoming productive, but becoming unshakable. And it starts with 5 simple choices made before the world opens its mouth. You make those choices now, and I promise you'll feel it. Not someday. Not in a month, you'll feel it tomorrow morning. The shift, the clarity, the quiet power of a man who shows up for himself. Let me tell you about a man named Marcus, 41 years old, father of 2. Been working the same sales job for nearly a decade. From the outside, he looked stable, steady paycheck, decent house, no major problems. But inside, he was exhausted. He stopped growing. His days blurred together, wake up late, rush the kids to school, commute in traffic, sit through meetings, come home drained, scroll his phone, pass out, repeat. He wasn't unhappy. He was just numb, like a machine running on autopilot. He wasn't failing, but he wasn't living either. Then one day, he sat in his parked car before work and realized he hadn't done a single thing for himself in weeks. Not 1 hour to think, to plan, to breathe. That realization hit him harder than any crisis ever had. It wasn't that he was falling apart. It was that he was slowly vanishing into his own routine. And he knew if he didn't do something, this would be the rest of his life. That night, he heard a podcast, just like this one, talking about 1 hour, one decision, one habit. It sounded too simple, almost insulting. He thought, what's 1 hour going to do when I've been stuck for 10 years? But something about it stayed with him. So the next morning, he got up 1 hour earlier. Didn't go to the gym, didn't meditate, just sat in silence. No phone, just him and a notebook. He wrote down a single question: what do I want? The answer didn't come that day or the next, but he kept showing up. Every morning, 1 hour, writing, walking, reading. Some days he had clarity. Some days he didn't, but something was changing, slowly then all at once. After a few weeks, he started moving his body again, not to chase aesthetics, but to feel strong. He started journaling consistently. He picked up books he'd been meaning to read for years. He stopped waking up with anxiety. His kids noticed. His wife noticed. He started speaking differently, more present, more certain, less reactive. He stopped rushing and started leading. He didn't quit his job or start a business overnight, but he became someone new in the quiet, and that new man made new decisions. One of those was to pursue a long-forgotten idea, launching a small side business he'd dreamed of in his 20s. He didn't wait for the perfect time. He just gave it 1 hour a day. Research, emails, strategy, action. Within a year, it was bringing in enough income to give him options. Not overnight wealth, but confidence. Clarity, control. Marcus didn't need a new life. He needed to reclaim the space to build one. And that space was 1 hour a day. Not for work, not for others, for himself. That hour became his sanctuary, his strategy lab, his gym, his place of prayer, his anchor, and eventually his launch pad. Because here's the truth: no one is coming to rescue you from your routine. No one's going to show up and hand you clarity or passion or freedom. You build it, brick by brick, hour by hour, in the silence before the chaos. In the hour before the world demands anything from you. Marcus's story isn't rare because it's impossible. It's rare because most people never commit to the quiet work. The work no one claps for. The work that doesn't post well on Instagram. But that's the work that changes you. Not in one burst, but in 100 invisible hours. And those hours stack. They become muscle. They become clarity. They become power. Marcus didn't change his life by working harder. He changed his life by carving out a space to think, to choose, to move, to lead. And that space gave him his power back. So what about you? What could your life look like in 90 days if you gave yourself that same hour? What would shift in your body, your mind, your relationships, if you stopped giving your best energy to the noise and started giving it to your future? You don't need a miracle, you need a decision. To reclaim what's already yours, 1 hour a day to become who you were always meant to be. Not the perfect man, not the loudest, but the one who shows up when no one's watching. The one who leads from within. Because that man, he's not far away, he's 1 hour away, just like Marcus was, and your story, like his, can change. But it starts with one question. Will you show up for yourself before the world shows up for you? Or will you keep waiting until the pain is loud enough to force your hand? You don't need more pressure, you need more presence. And presence starts with a choice. Just one. Just an hour, over and over again. Until the man you become is the man you've always been, finally waking up. But let's get honest. Most men won't finish what they start. They'll hear this message, feel the fire for a few days, maybe even try it once or twice. But then the distractions creep back in. The excuses get louder. The urgency fades. The habits of the old life, the comfortable life, start pulling like gravity. And the hour they once protected, it vanishes, not all at once, but in pieces. A snooze button here, a late night there. Just this once that turns into I'll start again next week. Until one morning they're back where they started, rushing, reacting, numb. So if this 1 hour is so powerful, why do most men give it up? Because they fall into the traps, the silent killers of consistency. And if you're not aware of them, they'll rob you before you even realize what's happening. The first trap is perfection. You'll think the hour has to be flawless to matter. That you need the perfect environment, the perfect routine, the perfect mindset. And if the morning doesn't go exactly as planned, you'll throw the whole thing out. But let me tell you, perfection is a lie. You don't need perfect mornings. You need repeated ones, messy ones, interrupted ones, honest ones. This isn't about building the ideal version of you. It's about building the real version, one disciplined, intentional hour at a time. Don't let a rough start become a full stop. The second trap is comparison. You'll see someone else's routine online, their sunrise yoga, their immaculate journal, their cold plunge, and you'll feel like you're not doing enough. Like your quiet hour doesn't measure up. But your hour isn't for anyone else. It's not content. It's not a competition. It's where you face yourself, not your feed. Keep it private. Keep it powerful. If it serves you, it's successful. Don't trade your peace for someone else's aesthetic. The third trap is overcomplication. You'll try to do too much. Read 10 books, meditate for 40 minutes, journal like a philosopher, train like an athlete, all in 1 hour. And quickly your hour turns into pressure. A chore, a performance, but the hour was never meant to impress. It was meant to align. Simplicity wins, movement, reflection, learning, planning, pick one or two, do them deeply. The goal isn't to exhaust yourself, it's to center yourself. The fourth trap is shame. You'll miss a day or two, maybe even a week, and instead of returning, you'll hide. You'll say, I messed up, and let guilt take over. But discipline isn't destroyed by failure, it's destroyed by hiding from it. Miss a day? Fine, just don't miss two. There's no shame in stumbling, only in giving up. The hour doesn't demand perfection, it demands return. Again, and again, and again. The fifth trap, and maybe the deadliest, is waiting for life to calm down, for the stress to ease, for the schedule to open, for things to feel less overwhelming. But listen to me, life won't calm down, you must. The hour isn't something you do after life makes space. It's how you make space. If you don't take it now, you'll never have it later. Time doesn't appear, it's taken. And if you don't take that hour for yourself, someone else will take it from you. So how do you avoid these traps? You decide in advance that the hour is non-negotiable. You don't wait for motivation, you build a rhythm. You treat the hour like brushing your teeth, not flashy, not heroic, just essential. And when the resistance comes, and it will, you remind yourself, I don't need to feel ready, I just need to show up. That's the edge, that's the shift. When your hour stops depending on emotion and starts depending on commitment. That's when you go from being a man who tries to a man who follows through. And trust me, the world doesn't need more men who try, it needs more men who show up. Quietly, repeatedly, especially when it's hard. So don't let these traps fool you. Don't let them steal your hour. You're not weak for struggling. You're not broken for slipping. You're human. but you're also powerful, and that power lives in your ability to come back, to recommit, to stand up, dust off, and say, I still choose me. That's where the real change happens, not in the days you crush it, but in the days you don't and still return anyway. Because that's who you're becoming, not a man who never fails, but a man who never quits, a man who protects what matters, a man who leads from the first hour every day. So here it is, the moment where everything turns. You've heard the reasons, you've seen the cost, you've felt the fire, but none of it means anything if you don't act, not later, not next week, not after the next crisis settles, right now. Today, because there is no better time than this moment to draw the line and take your hour back. Not because you're ready, not because life suddenly got easier, but because you've finally had enough of handing your power away. You've finally realized that the future isn't found in some grand plan, it's found in what you do with the next 60 minutes. So what do you do next? Simple. Take one small but serious action tomorrow morning. Just one. Set your alarm for 1 hour earlier than usual. No debate. No negotiation. When it rings, get up. Don't scroll. Don't snooze. Don't reach for the comfort of distraction. Reach for yourself. Grab a notebook and write down 3 things. What do I want to feel today? What do I want to move toward? And what's one action I can take before the world starts pulling at me? Sit with those answers. They don't have to be deep or perfect. They just have to be honest. Then move. Literally stretch, walk, breathe, feel your body again. Remind it that it's still alive, still capable, still strong. Even 10 minutes of movement shifts your entire energy. Next, feed your mind. Read 10 pages of a book that sharpens you. Listen to a podcast that grounds you. Don't just consume, absorb. And finally, plan one thing that matters more than the rest. Don't write a to-do list a mile long. Write one sentence that says, if I do this today, I move forward. That's your compass. That's it. That's your 1 hour, no drama, no hype, just discipline quietly applied. And here's the most important part. Do it again the next day. And the next, because this is how real change happens, not through a burst of inspiration, but through repeated alignment. Through honoring your word to yourself every morning. And when the resistance comes, and it will, you say, this hour is mine. This is where I build. This is where I lead. This is where I win. And if you fall off, if you miss a day, if life hits hard and knocks you sideways, you come back immediately, no guilt, no shame, no stories, just return. Because that's what strong men do. They don't hide from the struggle, they walk through it. They rebuild, again and again, until the hour is no longer something they do, it becomes who they are. So let this be your moment. Not the moment you felt inspired, the moment you acted, the moment you picked up the pen and started writing a new chapter, the moment you looked at your life and said, I'm not waiting anymore. Because every man who wins, every man who builds something lasting has a turning point. This could be yours, 1 hour, one decision, one action. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start. Start tomorrow morning. Start with discipline. Start with truth. Start with 1 hour that belongs to you, because the man you want to be is already inside of you. He's just been waiting for you to stop making excuses and start making time. So take the hour. Take it like your future depends on it, because it does. Take it and don't give it back. That hour is where you rise. That hour is where you become. That hour is where you lead. Start. Today, not someday, today. Imagine this: a man stands in the middle of a storm. The wind is screaming, the rain is coming sideways, chaos is everywhere, but he's still. He's grounded. He's not flinching because he knows who he is. He knows where he's going. And do you know why? Because long before the storm came, he prepared in silence. He built his strength in the dark. He didn't wait for peace to find him. He made peace a practice. He mastered the hour that no one else saw, and now he's unshakable. That can be you. Not someday, not if everything works out, not if the timing is perfect. Now, you don't need to predict the future, you need to shape it. And the way you shape it is through small, powerful, daily decisions. The kind that don't impress the world but transform the man. This hour, this simple, quiet hour becomes the forge, where clarity is born, where vision is refined, where your word to yourself stops being a suggestion and starts becoming law. It's where your future doesn't just stay a dream, it becomes a plan, a mission, a reality in motion. But here's the thing, no one is going to do this for you. No one is going to remind you every morning to show up. No one's coming to rescue you from distraction, from doubt, from the slow decay of drifting through your days. That's on you. And that's the most empowering truth you'll ever embrace. Because if it's on you, it means you have the power. You're not at the mercy of your job, your schedule, your history, your stress. You're in control of your first hour, of your focus, of your energy, of your life. And maybe you're thinking, will this really change anything? Let me ask you, what if it does? What if 1 month from now you've strung together 30 mornings of showing up for yourself, and you feel clearer, stronger, sharper than you've felt in years? What if 6 months from now you've built a side project, gotten in shape, rekindled your purpose, deepened your relationships, just by honoring 1 hour a day? What if a year from now you look in the mirror and don't just hope for more? You see the man who built it. That's not a fantasy, that's a path. One that begins not with intensity but with consistency. Not with noise, but with silence. Not with a leap, but with a step. And it's waiting for you tomorrow morning. The hour is already there. The only question is, will you meet it? So I'll leave you with this. When you wake up tomorrow and your alarm goes off and the old habits whisper, just sleep a little more. I want you to hear this voice louder. This hour is mine. Say it out loud if you have to. Stand up, own it, use it, and build with it. Because this isn't just how you change your schedule, it's how you change your identity. This is how the man who's been buried under distractions, doubts, and deadlines finally stands up and walks forward. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you mastered just 1 hour a day? What would change? Who would you become? And more importantly, what's stopping you from finding out? The storm will always come. The world will always pull. But now you know where your strength is built. In the quiet, in the stillness, in the discipline of showing up when no one's watching. Let that be your edge. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your story. 1 hour, one decision, one new you. Now go meet him.